Live from the 607 is the ODPH Entertainment Edition, where we're talking movies, comics, TV, and more. Why don't you join in the conversation? Hashtag ODPH, because here we go. And welcome back for another edition of the ODPH Entertainment Edition. I am your host, Ken M. Sitting across from me this week is the intern himself, Padawan J.
Hello, hello, hello.
And joining us, you know him from the comics blog, it's the Bra Guy Signal.
Hey, guys.
Folks, we have a lot to talk about. We have the movie, the epic. I can't even find enough adjectives to describe it.
Record breaker would be one I use.
Sure. We are talking Avengers Infinity War. We are talking spoilers. You know the drill by now, so no more warnings for that. Gentlemen, what were your thoughts on the movie, starting with Bright Guy Signal?
It was good. A few things I had issues with, but I feel like it's going to be, they're all going to get fixed in the next part of the movie, so I'm not really going to slam this one for them.
Pad?
Loved it. It was everything and then some of what I wanted it to be. Thanos was an amazing villain who genuinely, every time he showed up on screen and started kicking butt and taking names, I was thinking in my head, oh, crap.
I got to say this. I was just blown away by it. Now, I know we talked about on last episode Marvel's 10-year run and how we got to this point and how impactful doing the comic franchise, how they did, has really set the bar for movies with comic book characters involved. If you really want it done right and you want your universe tied together, this is the way to go. That being said, the pressure was on the Russo brothers to deliver
Just a little bit
with this, and they knocked it out of the park.
Oh, yeah.
To take the story of the Infinity Gauntlet, which is Thanos' mad quest to get the Infinity Stone gems, kill half the universe for
reasons,
because they vary a little bit different from the comics to the movie. But either way, they nailed the essence of his character. The only issues I guess I would have with the movie, and these are minor at best, did anybody that did not read the Infinity story, which just came out a couple years ago from Marvel, know who was the people working for Thanos?
Nope.
I have not read the comic book source material, but I did know who they were just because there was an article I had read that wasn't really spoiled. It's like, hey, here's who these people are, so you know going into the movie.
Yeah, that was one of my issues too with the movie. I was like, I know who they were because I've read Infinity. Had I not, I would have been like, who the heck are these guys? Or like they supposed to be?
So weren't they like referenced by name like once or twice?
Yeah, they weren't really.
And it was like a blink and you miss it kind of mention.
Yeah, exactly. So it was one of those moments where I was like, okay, I know who they are because I've read it, but had I not, and I know the group we went with, there were some people going, who are these guys?
Yeah.
And trying to explain it in a very short amount of time didn't really work until after the movie. But you know who they are, the Black Order. They work for Thanos. They are, his followers, I guess, in some cases. The story of Infinity is worth reading. It's just called Infinity because I know that there are multiple Infinity Gauntlet, Infinity War, Infinity Crusade, yada, yada, yada. But the story that's just called Infinity is the one that you want to read for the source material involving those characters. So that being said, when they showed up, it was really kind of hard to process, okay, what exactly are their motivations if you did not read the story. But let alone you find out that they are not playing around with killing off major characters right from the jump.
Yeah, I was not expecting that in the slightest.
No, I mean, Hemmel, I thought was going to...
I expected a body count. Like I said in last week's show, I expected deaths, plural. I was not expecting deaths in like the first 2 minutes.
No, I was thinking, well, they'll get to it eventually. But when they started with Hemmel, I mean, that is kind of a big thing for the Thor universe.
Right.
And then let alone Loki, Tom Hiddleston is now gone from the MCU.
That was left field as left field can get.
Yeah, which, I mean, you want to establish Thanos as the villain that he is? Or the antagonist, however you want to define him, that's one way to do it.
Well, because I know I said to a few people when trailers were coming out, there was the one trailer where you saw Loki holding the
Tesseract.
Tesseract, thank you. and then the next shot was Thanos, and I was convinced that Loki was going to turn on him again, that he was going to double, triple, quadruple, whatever cross him at this point and join up with Thanos.
Yeah, I mean, they kind of set up for it, but at the end, you kind of saw that Loki was having doubts of his loyalty. I mean, he was going back and forth, I think, in that moment of, okay, what should I do? Is this the right thing for me?
Yeah.
And knowing how he is in the comic, I mean, he's the god of mischief. So he probably thought, well, if I disrupt this, hey, I can go take over Earth myself.
I will say this. I did like the one line he had where I think it was when he tried to stab Thanos and he goes, I am Loki. He pauses and goes, Odinson. Where, like, it for me, as a viewer, having seen Thor 1, 2, and 3 and seen Avengers and seen all the movies, it was an awesome progression in his character where he went from, I hate you, I hate everything about you, I'm going to do everything I can to kill you, to, you know what? I've done some stuff. I've messed up a little bit, but at the end of the day, we're brothers.
Yeah, I mean, it just shows how complex their relationship is.
Yeah.
I mean, is just one of the unique details with those guys. So obviously, after those major players are taken off the board, Thanos is coming to Earth. The Guardians of the Galaxy pick up Thor, which was the comic relief of the movie, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And it was just kind of, you start seeing how everybody is slowly getting involved.
Mm-hmm.
And going from there, they really made use of everybody's time in the movie.
Yeah.
And what I mean by this is every character had, I think, a good amount of equal time.
It felt like it.
Brian, you think so?
Not really.
Okay.
Captain America, like the big one for me is Captain America and his whole team, where when we last saw them, they were on the run from the government because they refused to sign these Sokovian Accords. They just kind of felt like they were in that movie. They didn't really elaborate as to what they've been doing for the past 2 years. And then same with even Black Panther, like Wakanda was just sort of like, okay, we're going to go to Wakanda now. After like a massive world building you had in Black Panther, the solo movie, it's like, okay, we got to go to Wakanda, and Captain America's going to help us fight off some aliens, and T'Challa's like, yeah, let's go fight aliens.
On the Black Panther front, I don't know for certain, this is just me speculating in my head, I get the feeling that the time between the end of Black Panther and the beginning of Infinity War, at least for him, is not that long. That's just a feeling and vibe I get with, and in terms of the Captain America thing, that's the MO for the Russo brothers. I mean, you look at what happened in Winter Soldier, where Cap has been doing things. He's been on missions. He's clearly working for S.H.I.E.L.D. They don't really go into details on that. That's just kind of how the Russo brothers have handled Cap's off time between movies.
Different, in my opinion, because they at least show him on a mission for S.H.I.E.L.D. at the start of Winter Soldier. This one, he's a full-on war criminal, and everyone with him is also a war criminal. That's not something, in my opinion, I feel like you should just gloss over when Captain America is one of the founding members of your Avengers team.
It's kind of a catch-22 because I agree with you. I actually agree with both of you on those fronts. I mean, I'm sure he was doing work in the background, but they probably should have mentioned, like, hey, since we last saw Cap,
right,
this is what he's been doing. I think what they wanted to establish is that he's just been working very covertly. Unless you're really looking in for the reason, you probably didn't connect with it. So, I mean, that might be a flaw in the movie, and rightfully so, because I think with that many characters, is really hard to juggle everybody.
Yeah.
But I thought for the most part that they really gave ample screen time for everybody. I mean, I guess, nitpicking, obviously, other than explaining Thanos' team, is how much time they spent on Thor making a new hammer. I kind of felt like, all right, we can kind of get going here. Albeit, though, seeing Peter Dinklage as a giant dwarf was downright impressive and scary at the same time.
That was surprising because I know you, when we were going into the movie, you were hinting that he was going to be in the movie, but you weren't quite sure in what role. So I was kind of keeping an eye out for him during the movie, and just because of the size, like I'm so used to seeing Peter Dinklage at his normal height in anything he's in, it was a bit of a shock for me to see him giant size because, and like I said, it took me a minute to realize who it was, and then I heard the voice. I'm like, oh, whoa, hi.
Yeah, no, I thought that he was going to be voicing one of the Black Order.
Okay.
That was what I thought. Or I thought, honestly, when he first got casted, I thought he was going to be Pip the Troll, which if you've read the Infinity Gauntlet, he is a teammate of the Infinity Watch with Adam Warlock.
Yeah, until you told me going into the theater, I had no idea he was even cast.
Yeah, no, I knew he was going to be in there, and that's why I had him banked to be. But obviously seeing him being the maker of Thor's hammer or weapons of Asgardian destruction,
Right.
however you want to define it, was really kind of a surprise. So that being said, going into the movie, I mean, they really established Thanos as a major threat, and just seeing how he went decimating characters after one of the biggest curveballs thrown of who was possessing the Soul Stone and how Thanos acquired it. Because as we saw, the Red Skull
Yeah.
of all characters
Holy moly.
was the one in possession of it.
Yeah.
I thought Red Skull was going to be in the movie, but I thought he was going to be working with Thanos and he was going to pop a cap into Cap's head. And that would have been like Cap's death, and it was like, okay, because that's what happens in Old Man Logan is Red Skull kills Captain America, if memory serves me correctly. So I was really shocked though when it's like he's a completely different person and also has like the whole Dementor Nazgul look to him, and it's like he's a very changed person from when we saw him in Captain America. Like he is very much like, yeah, you really shouldn't mess around with these things.
Yeah, no, that for me was probably the only thing in the movie that was only further left field than Loki getting killed, because I had no idea he was going to be in the movie. I didn't even consider it. I know people have wanted him to show up again for years, and it took me a solid second to realize it was because, like we said, he shows up on the screen, he's all hooded, you can't see him, and then people in our theater started gasping, and that's when I actually paid attention and noticed the face. I'm like, oh crap.
Yeah, I mean, that was a shock. Like, I heard nothing about that, and
well done to Marvel for keeping that one under wraps. Wow.
Yeah, because I think that was the biggest, like, what is going on moment. And, I mean, I think it was a different actor who played it. I think we found out.
Yeah, it was indeed. There was some speculation that, it was Hugo Weaving playing him. But I remember when I was I've seen Lord of the Rings enough times and Matrix enough times that I can kind of tell when it's Hugo Weaving's voice. It just sounded off to me. We found out the next day that it was not Hugo Weaving portraying Red Skull. It was Ross Marquand.
Who is more notable for The Walking Dead?
Yep.
So, obviously, with him stepping in the fold, I mean, it threw definitely a curveball in there. And then, obviously, when Thanos killed off Gamora, his daughter, which that one did not see coming at all. Because especially if you read the comics, she starts out as a member of the Infinity Watch right after the Infinity Gauntlet. It's Marvel, it's cosmic, it's long backstory with that before she becomes a Guardian of the Galaxy. So, obviously, taking her off the board was really kind of a surprise for me because, I mean, I remember reading the Infinity Gauntlet, and she plays a very big part in it. So
well, and especially they spent at least a couple of scenes showing her backstory with Thanos, which I know before had been hinted at and had been kind of lightly touched on, but never fully explained. I didn't think Thanos would do it.
No.
See, that's the thing, though. It's like he has his will of what he wants to do, and like he is hell-bent on killing half the galaxy, but in his mind, this is where Thanos is a good villain. He's the hero of the galaxy. Like in the beginning when he's holding Thor hostage and is like ready to blow his brains out, and he doesn't, it shows that Thanos isn't like, okay, I don't just go around murdering everyone left and right. I don't want to do that unless I have to. And Gamora, I think he legitimately did not want to kill, but he knew if he was to save the galaxy, the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few.
Yeah, and especially one of the best characteristics of a villain is when they believe their cause is right, and you can't tell them otherwise. For whatever reason, if they think this world domination because they think they can save the world, I mean, look, you take a look at like Lex Luthor type deal.
Yeah, I mean, you think back to the scene where he was on Titan confronting Tony's group, and he's going into the story of how his planet got that way, that they were overpopulated, their resources were depleting, and he goes, and I came up with an idea. And I think somebody goes, and you consider genocide? What are you, a nut? And he goes, yeah, well, I came up with that idea. I pitched it to him, and then they exiled me. What? Crazy people.
Yeah, I mean, it just goes to show you what kind of complexity the character has.
And the one thing I actually do like about, I want to say, like, there was a lot of character development for each of these people, and one of my favorite MCU characters is Star-Lord, and this is something I really wanted to get across because I've seen a lot of people hate Star-Lord in this movie.
I mean, I don't hate him, but I understand the hate.
Yeah, I understand it, but it's like what they did with his character is they showed how Star-Lord's the most human out of everybody in the MCU.
Well, yeah,
because if you think about it, he doesn't have any powers like Captain America or a fancy suit like Tony. He literally has 2 blasters, rocket boots, and a fancy helmet.
And his wits.
Yeah.
But you got to also remember, you just came off Guardians of the Galaxy 2, where he was told he's the son of a god.
Yeah, he got told that, but I agree that. Oh, I'm sorry, Brian.
Yeah, I was gonna say, but he lost his godly powers when he decided to kill his father.
Oh, I know.
And then also you gotta, and this is again, like you look at his character, he lost his mom when he was really young. He killed his biological father, only to then watch his adopted father die right in front of him, and then he was also gonna shoot his girlfriend, and then learns his girlfriend was just murdered by the guy he was trying to save her from.
Yeah, like I said,
And like you can't. You hate him from the movie standpoint. You're like, they were just going to get the gauntlet off of him, but you can't hate him because it's like, what would you do if you were in his situation?
No, yeah, I don't hate him. My reaction during that scene was kind of, oh, no, come on, man. Like, don't do it. Like, I wasn't mad. I was just like, oh, kind of sad for him.
No, but it just showed, his humanity in there because,
Yes.
yeah, he was the everyday person. If you're thrown in that situation, what would you do? And I'm sure that, they're all saying, oh, we almost had it. Yeah, I dare you to switch one of those characters like Iron Man or even Captain America, and they wouldn't even do that. They do the same thing.
The other thing I liked about Star-Lord in this movie is the interaction he had with those from Earth, because you got to remember, this is the first time he's interacted with another human being from Earth in like 30, 40 years.
I love it when he asks, he's like, is Footloose still the greatest movie ever? And Peter Parker's like, no, it never was.
Yeah. He's like, what?
Oh, yeah. I mean, the comedy there was just spot on between all the characters, too, because you saw the interaction, the different personalities. I mean, that worked in so much of the favor.
I was going to say, one of my other favorite interactions is during the final battle on Wakanda when Rocket and Bucky are back-to-back and Bucky's getting surrounded, so he straight up picks up Rocket Raccoon and starts dual-wielding Rocket Raccoon in his own machine gun spinning in a circle.
And he goes, how much for that arm?
It's not for sale.
It's not for sale. And Bucky leaves, and Rocket just goes under his breath, I'm going to get that arm.
Oh, yeah.
And you know what? I fully believe him.
Oh, yeah. Just the comedic element helped. I mean, obviously.
It's a running joke. Rocket has been acquiring body parts for whatever reason. He just wants prosthetics.
How funny is it he's still carrying that eye?
Yeah.
Which I did not.
I would have watched that first. I had to hide it up my.
I never considered replacing his eye, let alone consider Rocket was still carrying that thing.
Oh, it's crazy. It's just crazy how detailed they were with the previous histories of the Marvel characters. I mean, it just goes to show how Marvel, they always say it's all connected.
Yeah.
It's true because they tied in little elements for movies that are, 8, 7, 10 years old. I mean, if you really break it down of how much is tied in, and they just brought it all together. So obviously, when they get to Wakanda, when Thanos is coming to get the last stone from the Vision at the time, it just really ties in together how important the event is. And just the final fight scene where you finally see the heroes are just going full tilt. This is bringing everybody together for one last stand for Earth. And just to see how Thanos just ultimately wins is just truly telling.
And then I just love the ending scene. Like, Thanos achieved what he wanted, and he's not, gloating about it. He just sits down like he wanted to and just watches the sunrise. Because it's like, it goes back to his character. He really feels he's doing the right thing for what he thinks will save the galaxy, and that's why when he does that, he's like, I did it. I saved the galaxy.
He didn't do the stereotypical monologuing. He did it, and he left.
And, but I still think there's more to it, because if you've ever read the Infinity Gauntlet, that is the ending of the Infinity Gauntlet. However, it is a lot different from point A to point B.
I was going to ask that, because I noticed after he snaps his fingers and all what breaks loose, it looks like the gauntlet was broken. There were cracks.
Yeah.
Does that include the stones as well?
No.
Okay.
No, the stones do not break at any point, at least to my recollection. Hashtag ODPHEE if you have a situation where it does. But as far as I remember from the comics, no, it never does. And the gauntlet is still there. Albeit, though, when he does accomplish his goal of killing half the universe, in the comic, he is doing it for a different reason than the movie. So, obviously...
I was just saying, in the comic, he's trying to impress Death because he wants to win her love.
Yeah.
He does that repeatedly.
Oh, yes. But so when he's sitting there on his throne, and he's just sitting there, he can't understand why she is not impressed of his accomplishment.
He goes nuts.
Yeah, I mean, he goes back to his own self-loathing, and that's his ultimate weakness. So when they go to the movie now, he has accomplished his goal, but really I think you're going to see his self-loathing come into factor, and somebody is going to find him and track him down for all the loss he's caused.
Nebula.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be Nebula because obviously she plays a big role in the comic.
Well, and you got to figure, having been with him and known him for so long, the surviving members of the Avengers aren't going to know where that planet is. You can probably guarantee, gosh darn tea, she knows where that is.
Well, somebody has to, because obviously with the Guardians, if you do take a look at who got killed at the end of the movie, Black Panther, Spider-Man, most of the Guardians.
Yep. I think Rocket might be the only one left.
That was the only one I was wondering on the way over. I'm like, was Rocket taken?
No. Rocket survived. Groot left, and that got an audible groan from our crowd we saw with out of sheer sadness. Drax went. Gamora had obviously been killed earlier in the movie, and I believe
Mantis left, and then Star-Lord went.
Star-Lord. So yeah, at this point, Rocket is the only remaining member of the Guardians.
But the people who vanished, and I'm sure this is where you're going, Ken. Those are the people who vanished in the comic when Thanos snapped his fingers.
Yes, and it was also telling because those were the more new heroes in the MCU. Not the original ones.
Which, let me just say, and I want to get your guys, what were your guys' thoughts on the entire scene of the heroes disappearing? Because for me, I was good. I was like, okay, it was shocking because I didn't know who was going to go and whatnot. But for me, I was good until the Peter Parker scene where he's lying in Tony's arms because he doesn't feel good. He's like, I don't feel good. I don't want to go. I'm sorry. Oh my God, that might have been the saddest scene I've ever seen in a movie. And I don't mean that like pathetic sad. I mean just like heart-wrenching sad.
See, this is where me knowing stuff, like not really knowing things, Sony's not going to kill off their property in the MCU.
Well, no, but...
So that's like, I didn't really care from the standpoint, like, yeah, he's going to be back.
Well, no, but it's like somebody in our group said it, it kind of takes away from the impact of the scene when there are already sequel movies announced. But regardless, for me, like if you think of, Mufasa dying in Lion King, the dinosaur mother in Land Before Time, of like just gut-wrenching, heart-wrenching death scenes in movies, I think the Peter Parker one might top the list for me.
That had the most emotional impact because Tom Holland acted his ass off in this movie.
Oh my God, that scene alone.
I'm just saying, yeah, if you want to see about why he is Spider-Man and forget the other guys that played him, I'm even saying Tobey Maguire at this point too. You watch that scene because they tied in just so many elements with that, and then you understood like how serious this was.
Well, yeah, because you think back to when the ship Tony sneaks onto takes off into space, and they're deep into space at this point, and he shows up and reveals himself. Tony's like, "Why are you here?" And he's like, "Don't worry, I got this." And then you get to the end, and he's like, "Oh my God, I screwed up in the worst way possible."
Well, there's that weird father-son relationship that they have now in the MCU. It's kind of like
I also think the problem is like Tony didn't want him there because like Tony's screwing up his engagement with Pepper, and then it's like, great, now I'm responsible for the kid again, who I just want to keep him safe. And it's like, Tony is another one. He's just come a long way. Like, he's still human. Like, as much as he's overcome a lot of stuff, he still has a lot of things that haunt him when he tries to make things right.
I think Tony also, to a certain degree, sees a bit of himself in Peter because Peter has no parents. Tony lost his parents. Tony is trying to be for Peter what he never had.
And that's what, he hints at that in Homecoming. He's like, my dad was never there to compliment me, so I want to say something to you. And then later, after he realizes Peter like caused a boat accident, Peter's like, I just wanted to be like you, Mr. Stark. And Tony just sort of like rolls his eyes. He's like, I wanted you to be better than me.
Yeah.
So the one last question I wanted to ask you guys: what were your thoughts about the Hulk throwing a hissy fit?
I thought it was... Oh, I'm sorry.
I don't know what to think of that, honestly. I'm like, really? The Hulk is scared?
Well, no, I don't think he's scared. I think he's embarrassed. Because you think about... and I couldn't figure this out. It took me a couple of days to think about this. You think back to Thor Ragnarok, where he was the champion of an entire planet, where you had people dressing up as him, making memorabilia and all this stuff. And he was getting his face built into the side of a building. And he had an entire planet cheering his name. And you think of all the movies leading up to this point where he's not been beat. Yeah, he might have been knocked down, but he stood up and he kept fighting. To go from that to where he's a champion, he's revered, he's loved, to just getting his butt kicked, I think he was embarrassed and upset.
No, see, I took it as this. My always feeling about the Hulk is he is a part of Banner's subconscious. Like he is the true Banner.
Okay.
Like the Banner is the mask and the Hulk is the real.
Oh, interesting.
So when he didn't want to come out, that's because Banner was scared.
Whether
And-
he liked to admit it or not.
Exactly.
I never considered that.
That was my take from it. That he was like he knew that Thanos nearly killed him.
Huh.
And the first time that since he's been the Hulk, he has now had a threat that has nearly killed him, scared the absolute sugar cookies out
And
of
you
him.
got to think, Thanos just literally beat the crap out of him with his fists.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let
The
alone
only person to come close to doing that was Thor, and Banner knows Thor's only done that to try to keep Thor and Tony are actually the only two who've done that. And he knows Thor and Tony have done it because he went crazy. And they're just trying to keep him from hurting people.
Yeah. That now because you saw he was trying to kick it and he's like, I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened. It's like, yeah, it's more inside his head. We could keep going on and on about it, but we got to take a quick break. But let us know what your thoughts were on Avengers Infinity War. We're going to take a quick break. You're listening to the ODPH Entertainment Edition.
It's a heartbreak, soul-shaped radio attack. Taking 4 steps forward, no steps back.
Hey, this is Vince, the Common Man CTOI, local MMA fighter, telling you to keep on listening to the ODPH, the 607's up-and-coming newest podcast.
We knew right where we'd be, floating on the airwaves, you see. It's a heartbreak, soul-shaped radio attack. Taking 4 steps forward and no steps back. We knew right where we'd be.
Coming back for the second segment on this week's ODPH Entertainment Edition. And last segment, we were talking Avengers Infinity War, and there's so much going on there. There's so many characters that still we have yet to hear about. Ant-Man and Wasp, their new trailer is coming out this week as we tape. Captain Marvel was mentioned in the bonus scene, which we said, we talk spoilers as this episode, so you've been fairly warned. And her movie is coming out next year.
Yep.
But there was one other Marvel hero that slid under the radar.
Well, if you could call him a hero.
It varies.
It varies depending on what side of the fence you're on about the character.
Or who's writing.
Yeah, exactly, because there is good and then not so good. The Venom trailer officially came out during the Avengers hype. I'm just going to ask the panel before we break it down. What were your thoughts, starting with Pat?
Liked seeing some more story and some explanation because, as we know, as we sit here recording, Spider-Man has not been announced for this film, so it sounds like there will be no Spider-Man in this film. So it was good to see some story and a bit of hinting at, how things get going. That being said, I don't like the look of Venom.
Right?
See, I actually do like the look of Venom, except for his eyes. They just don't have that distinct comic jagged look, and that's just my nerd. So I'll let that slide by. I'm really excited for it. Venom's probably one of my favorite villains in Marvel. I've always liked him. I like the demonic black suit Spider-Man look he has to him. I am curious what they will do if Spider-Man won't be in this movie. If he isn't, I think my one thought that I had be cool, since I do like the look of Venom, I hope they don't show him having the spider symbol on him, because that was something the symbiote adopted from Spider-Man after it spent time with him. So if he's not in the movie, that would help sort of like, okay, yeah, he's not affiliated with Spider-Man.
I'm saying, let me clarify. When I say I don't like the look of Venom, I like the transformation. I like the eyes. I like the teeth, the tongue, the whole thing. It's just the way the suit looks, like the texture of it. It just looks. And maybe I got to give it time. Maybe I got to see more of it than all of like 5 seconds in the trailer. But as I'm sitting here, I don't like the texture of it.
One word. Symbiote or symbiote?
Oh, don't get the internet
That's
started on that
3
one.
technically right there.
Yeah.
Well, so you're gonna start a war on the internet.
My thoughts were I actually liked it. I didn't really struggle too much as I saw it up close, because as I'm watching on a laptop instead of my phone for this one, I thought the suit looked okay. I mean, it definitely seemed to borrow a little more from the Eric Larson drawn version of Venom than maybe in recent incarnations, which I'm an old school fan of that, so I will take that. But as I'm watching it, it showed a spaceship crash. It showed the symbiote getting taken by the Life Foundation, and Eddie Brock is investigating them for some reason. We don't know exactly why. And then, of course, we're hearing multiple pronunciations of symbiote throughout the movie.
Yeah.
Depending on what side of the fence you sit on. And then you kind of see that he has been infected with the symbiote. Now, I don't exactly know how they're going to explain point A to point B. I think, obviously, if you're doing Venom, you have to tie it into Spider-Man somehow. So I don't know if they're going to say that, they've somehow acquired the same spider that bit, Peter Parker way back when, which would just be comics, but,
Yeah, I was going to say, because he's bit in New York and they're in San Francisco.
Yeah, like I said, comics. I mean, they'll find some way to segue it. I have a feeling they will. And obviously, you kind of see firsthand Venom's powers, and they definitely put right in the trailer he's an anti-hero. And I think that's right. That's the perfect way to describe him.
Sure.
Because he's now evolved from, the top 5 Spider-Man villain to he has his own following of being an anti-hero. Same thing as like the Punisher, Ghost Rider, Deadpool, perfect example. So as we're going into it, you see that Tom Hardy is playing Eddie Brock, doing a really good job of kind of adapting to an inner voice, which is the symbiote, who is also voiced by Tom Hardy, talking to him and just basically saying, like, we can take over, we can do whatever we want, and kind of goes from there. So as you're seeing the symbiote, I know they show a motorcycle scene where he's flying in midair and the symbiote grabs it and brings him down to it. And then you obviously see when people we're presuming from the Life Foundation are attacking Eddie Brock in his apartment, bad things happen.
Yeah.
So looking at that, I am very intrigued at how they're going to go with it. The CGI, though, as we said, is kind of hit or miss. And I think that that's been the biggest reaction I've seen from people on the internet and talking with amongst our friends about it. I didn't think it looked that bad. I mean, I thought it looked okay. I mean, because it's going to be kind of hard to say what is the perfect way to do like a symbiote,
right? And like I said,
on film.
Like I said, I'm gonna give it till the movie comes out for final judgment. I'm kind of chalking it up to, okay, the movie's not done. They're in post-production. They might touch it up a little bit more as post-production moves along. I am intrigued to see it, and I think the thing I would like to see out of this is when Eddie first takes on the suit, he has some form of control over it, and slowly but surely the suit starts to take over or maybe entice him to listen to the suit a little bit more. So it's like this slow corruption or downward spiral for him.
Which is pretty much how it was for Spider-Man when he first had the
Right,
suit. Like,
right.
he was in control of it, but slowly he started getting more aggressive, and then that's when he went to the Fantastic Four, and they're like, yeah, that's not a suit, that's a living organism you're running around
Yeah, because there's one line in the trailer where the suit, it sounds like it's in the middle of a sentence, but he says it's something like, we could do so much more. It almost sounds like the suit's been trying to convince him to listen to the suit, and it's not working up to this point.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of interesting to see, what exactly is going to be the motivation for the symbiote. Obviously, if it's coming to Earth, and you could tell that they've been doing experiments on it.
Yeah.
So it's probably going to be angry.
Yeah, you imagine it's going to be angry.
To say the least.
I mean, they've rumored that there are more involved. I would imagine you're going to see a Carnage cameo of some sort.
I could see that being the post-credit scene. Like, something happens in, like, the final battle, and, like, part of the suit gets, like, ripped off of Eddie, and then you see it mutate into, like, Carnage.
Yeah. I think you can bank on that one.
Yeah, because I know that they're borrowing a lot from the Lethal Protector story and I think the Planet of the Symbiotes. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, obviously there's kind of very two contrasting stories, in my opinion anyway. So, that being said, I'm not sure exactly what we're going to be seeing out of this, if it's going to be more of a traditional superhero or are they going to try going the New Mutants route of going horror movie?
I could see it being definitely more of a darker movie. I don't know if they'd go straight horror. I mean, with Venom, you're very capable of doing horror, so I'd be all for it.
There will probably be horror elements. Somebody from the Life Foundation or group or armed forces or whatever could be looking for Venom, hunting him down. They're in a dark, abandoned building, and because it's Venom, he's hiding in the shadows. There could be some like jump scare moments, but I don't think they're going to go full tilt horror. The thing I'm intrigued to see with this movie is what are they going to do for a protagonist when you have a character who's at times a villain, at times a hero. In this, they're billing him as the anti-hero. How are they going to do because you have he's the main character, he is the protagonist. You, in theory, would have to have an antagonist.
Well, I think they're going to say about this Life Foundation trying to, build a army to take over the world. I would imagine they're going to do something like that, or
maybe,
or have their own. Because if
they're going to be probably like, I could see them like experimenting with the symbiotes, trying to develop them for weaponized warfare, like to weaponize them for warfare.
Which I try and sell them to countries.
And my thing is with, as you said, like, oh, who's the villain going to be? I feel like it'd be pretty intriguing if he's his own villain. Like, he's struggling to try to keep this thing in control, and it's more of a psychological thing of him trying to do the right
Eddie's
thing.
the hero and Venom's the villain. That'd be interesting.
It'd be a great take on it. I mean, because typically when you've seen him written, that's what he is. And he's struggling to do it until ultimately he cashes in the comic and he goes all in. And then you have a different, side of Venom where, they're kind of seeing themselves as the hero to the world, which makes him a great villain. I know that sounds funny to say, but as we've talked about before, when the villain is believing that their actions are justified and they're the right things, that's what usually makes them stand out and really, makes them pretty iconic. Because like you say, we've discussed this previously. You take a look at like a Lex Luthor, you take a look at a Darkseid, even a Thanos, most recently.
Yeah,
they all think they're doing the right thing, which
as crazy messed up as it can be
is insane. But it also makes them that more compelling. I mean, Magneto is prime example of one.
Oh yeah,
he
is probably the one villain I don't agree with what he does, but I truly understand why he does what he does.
Yeah, and it makes
like hands down, like even the movies and comics, and that's what I love about the movies is Ian McKellen, Michael Fassbender both showed why he does what he does.
Yeah, when you can kind of connect and see, like, you might not agree with it, but you understand why. You're like, okay, and then that has more of a connection with the fans. Venom, I think, kind of spiraled into that because remember when he first came out as a villain. After Spider-Man got rid of him as a costume and then he wound up with Eddie Brock, he was just being a straight-up villain, just, revenge on Spider-Man.
Right.
Because the symbiote was angry, he was rejected. Then he just kind of morphed into the anti-hero because maybe the Peter Parker, mentality of doing the right thing, great power comes great responsibility, rubbed off on the symbiote, and in its own twisted way, this is how it justifies doing it.
Two opposing viewpoints tugging at each other.
Yeah. And I think it truly makes for a good, idea. Now, will the movie, accomplish this? I think post CGI, we're gonna have to take a look because I think that's probably the most argumentative point of the trailer, which it's still early and they can still do a lot of work. But like we said, it's kind of hard to do a symbiote.
And it could also just be the one scene.
Yeah,
like when he's like, it's like the first one where he's like melding. It's like for all we know, once he has the suit fully on, he could look probably fine.
Right, he just may not have full control yet.
Yeah, we don't exactly know at what point in the movie that takes place. You would imagine that maybe that's the first time, and then obviously as it more adapts to Eddie Brock and his thinking, it gets to look a lot cleaner and a lot more like the comics. Now, will they follow the storylines moving forward? Anybody's guess.
Yeah.
I think that if they're going to try keeping it self-contained in its own Venom universe, I guess you could call it, it's probably a smart move. But I do suspect you're going to see a Spider-Man cameo in some fashion, whether Venom is trying to say I want to be a hero and he's watching Spider-Man swing across New York and say, oh, I want to be like him, but I want to be better.
So it could be like a news scene from when Thanos' goons are attacking in New York.
See, from what I understand, this really, I'm pretty sure they have established this is not part of the MCU. That's the thing. And that's where I'm a little worried still, is like going back to how I said, I don't know how you're going to do Venom if there is no Spider-Man.
Because most of Venom's powers are from Spider-Man.
Yeah,
that's where I could think maybe he doesn't actually shoot webbings like he does in the comics. Like as you saw, like the suit spitting out tentacles and everything. Maybe that's what he does to swing around. So it's not so much like it's not webbing, it's the suit.
Yeah, there's so many different ways to go with it. But overall thoughts as we close out the segment on the trailer.
Excited.
Not entirely excited. I'm very intrigued and I'm looking forward to it.
I'm definitely interest peaked. I guess if I can define it as that. I still want to see a little bit more as we get closer to the movie's release date before I make a final judgment. But let us know what you think. Hashtag ODPHEE. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Hey, I'm Mike Pappy from Rye Bread, and you're listening to the ODPH.
Back for another segment on this week's ODPH Entertainment Edition, and it's been a while that we've talked about the DC TV universe, but
Yeah,
Pat, what you got?
I've had some going on, so I wanted to get your thoughts on this past week's episode of The Flash.
Now, this week's past episode had Captain Cold, played by Wentworth Miller, the man, the myth, the legend.
Earth X
version, but still, either way, I think it's his swan song on Flash that is kind of a little depressing, but I think it helped make that episode because I've really been struggling with Flash this season. I'm not going to lie.
For me, it's had its ups and downs, but for me, this episode was definitely an up. You saw some fallout from Elongated Man, Ralph, his quote-unquote death, and Barry playing it off, because Iris and Barry are going to see a therapist because they've known him for a while and they got real close. And, Iris is pouring out her heart, and at one point she says, oh, he was a hero and blah, blah, blah. And the therapist goes, oh, you saw him as a hero? And it's like, oh, well, you almost gave that away. But, she looks at Barry and goes, well, how are you taking all of this? And Barry goes, oh, I'm moving past it. I've dealt with a lot of death in my life.
Yeah, I mean, Barry's seen a lot of stuff over the 4 seasons of Flash.
Yeah, he's been through some stuff.
To say the least.
It's like, he's watched his mom die, then he wathed his dad die, and then it's like...
He screwed up Tom and his friend die. And
I was going to say, he watched, what's his name? Thawne's Eddie. Yeah, it's like he kills himself to kill his mentor, to kill Flash's mentor. It's like,
Barry Allen just brings it upon himself.
But it was great to see, beginning of the episode. Oh no, I'm okay. I've moved past it.
It's amazing he's not full on brooding like Oliver yet.
Oh, he's getting there.
But then to see later in the episode when he's facing off, and the face of Ralph comes out, and it goes, oh, you didn't save me. And he's holding the tuning fork or whatever it is. It's supposed to be, the MacGuffin, the red herring or whatever for this. And he just drops it. And he just locks up.
Yeah, I mean, it shows that these are starting to finally come into toll to him. That he's lost everybody they've tried saving this season.
Yeah.
If you think about it, everybody from the Dark Matter bus or however you wanted to find the new group that has powers.
Well, say what? There was the one episode a couple weeks or a month or so ago where they had the 4, however many of them all in one, and he got stuck in place and was literally watching all of them get killed.
Yeah, I think now he's realizing he is up against a threat he can't beat.
And a threat he can't just run faster.
Yeah. So now it's kind of getting telling that it's getting closer to home with him, with obviously losing Ralph for now, that going into it is he's got to deal with his grief and kind of pull himself out of whatever funk he's in to get it together to save the city. I think he's going to wind up doing it, obviously, but I'd like to see kind of some repercussions come for next year. Because I know they've been greenlit for season 5.
Yep.
But what I say by this is, okay, he's going to find a way to beat the Thinker, but what's going to be the next step moving forward? Because I think where they've really dropped the ball is they haven't done a Rogues Gallery season.
Right.
And depending on who they pick to be the next major antagonist for next season, I don't know.
I'm guessing Grodd. He's still floating around.
It would be, but I don't think they're going to do that because I think the CGI would be too much.
That's true.
For an entire season. I'd love to see it.
That's true.
Don't get me wrong.
Unless they only show Grodd in certain episodes, and mostly Grodd has a specific agent that he works through.
Yeah, I was just thinking the same thought.
Maybe that's how they could do it. It's
he's the mastermind, because brain controlling Grodd. That's where you can establish his Rogues Gallery, where you send in familiar villains that comic readers know, but they're not doing it of their own accord. They're doing it because Grodd is telling them to.
Yeah.
Or you have one guy, maybe not even just controlling the rogues. He literally controls one powerful, influential person, and then say their mid-season finale it shows that person meeting with Grodd, and you realize, oh, he's under Grodd's control.
Yeah, I'd like to see something like that if they're going to do that, because I mean, the season has been better than last season by far. And I know I kind of bashed this one a lot. But it just kind of seems like they get stuck in place a little bit.
What did you think of Caitlin losing her powers?
I thought it was an interesting twist.
I did not see that coming.
I'd like to see if it's going to stick around. I don't think it is.
I don't think so. They're hinting at possibly something being there to bring him back. But that for me was very shocking when she's standing there. She just gets touched and goes, melt. And I'm thinking, oh, just shutting off her powers. No, took him out.
Yeah, and I think for elevating the Thinker to this level of Flash Rogues, because before this season, I actually had to go search who he was.
Yeah, no, I gotta admit, I didn't know who he was either.
Yeah, I mean, he's been very obscure. Like when you talk about the Flash's rogues, who, like we said in previous episodes, has one of the deepest rogues gallery of all of comics, that you have to go, who? And, I mean, he's been very good this season. But I think now as we're getting close to the finish line, they're really picking up the pace, and they're really kind of making it seem like, everything that's happened this season is taking its toll on Barry.
Yeah.
And how he's going to come through it is going to, show how he's a true hero.
Yeah.
For me this week, though, Arrow has finally got their stuff together.
Holy moly, that was a good episode.
Yes. See, they got back to basics, which is one villain versus Oliver, and everybody else take a back seat.
It was nice to see cooler heads prevailing between the other members minus Oliver. You had Diggle meet up with the other crew, and cooler heads were prevailing, so that was nice to see.
Yeah, which, I mean, it kind of goes to show that they can still be in the Arrowverse, but they don't need to dominate, and we don't need to have, Oliver fighting everybody around him again.
So we don't need to have Justice League, AAA division.
Yeah. But that being said, Braga, you had the spoiler for us because we missed it in the end scene credits. Who is coming back next episode?
Tommy Merlin. Oliver's in a
Whoa,
court.
boy.
Oliver's in his courthouse, and then Tommy Merlin shows up and crashes through the window, and it's like in the Green Hour outfit.
See, there is so much I got to ask about this one, so I'm just going to be picking the panel's brain here. He died an epic death in season 1.
Correct me if I'm wrong, he had a building dropped on him.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Oliver finds him, and he has like a piece of metal like shoved through his sternum.
And I get for comics, unless you see a dead body, nobody's ever truly really dead. He had a building dropped on him. I feel like you can't come back from that.
Yeah. And I mean, granted, I'm happy to see him come back.
Oh, so am I.
I mean, his father is Malcolm Merlin, so that is the thing we got to think about. Like, okay, there is a chance he could come back.
Well, the other thing you got to think of is, Felicity could call in a favor to, say, Team Flash, and they could vibe in another Earth's Tommy.
No, actually, you mentioned something with that. How much you want to bet that Tommy was brought back to life because of Flashpoint?
Oh my God!
I don't know. I was thinking that
God.
too. But the thing is
he's just been laying under the.
Haven't they referenced that he's been dead still?
Maybe he's just been hiding.
I don't think they have.
They haven't really touched.
They
upon
haven't.
It.
They haven't mentioned Tommy in years.
Blame Barry. Barry is responsible for everything bad in the DC TV universe.
Because if you think about it, the only thing that I can remember, at least in terms of the two teams getting changed because of Flashpoint, that they've referenced this point was Diggle's kid.
Yeah.
I thought in Earth X they made a reference like when Oliver meets Tommy's doppelganger, he's like, "You died on my Earth," and then Tommy's like, "Yes, that's what weakness does on your planet."
Well, I'm
to
sure
his
he just
knowledge.
to his
he's
knowledge.
dead.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's been the closest one because I know the actor that plays Tommy went over to one of the Chicago shows on NBC.
Chicago Med.
Thank you. So I don't know if he's still there or not.
This could be a scenario where because of Flashpoint, he didn't die. Alternate, because he didn't die, he went off and did something overseas or, sabbatical or what have you. And to Tommy's knowledge, he told Oliver, "Oh yeah, I'm going. I'll see you later." But to Oliver's knowledge, oh yeah, he's dead.
Yeah, which I mean that would be pretty epic to bring it back.
That would be a twist of all twists.
And at least it's not like another Earth 2 because I'm sorry,
Yeah.
I'm getting sick and tired of Black Siren. That okay, you're not Black Canary, and whatever Detective Lance's or Mayor Lance's deal of she's my daughter, but she's not like.
That's
I'm
just
getting tired of that too. It's like,
yeah.
dude, she's not your daughter. Your daughter's dead.
yeah, he's just got some demons he's having a real hard time working through.
Yeah, because that's just setting him up. Like I just don't get his character this season. Like he's driving me nuts because I'm like,
My thing is I don't want to see them set him up so he relapses again.
See, I don't hate the character when he was like Oliver's right-hand guy. I'm going to support you. I'm there for you. I'm this, I'm that. But like with you guys, when it comes to, his faux daughter, I understand she looks like him, or looks like her, and that there's that emotional connection there because it looks like her, but it's not her.
yeah, I'm just so lost on that one. But I tell you what, Ricardo Diaz has made up for a lot this season.
Yeah.
And last episode, his origin episode, if you have not seen that, there is some stuff that happens.
I didn't expect some of that to happen.
Yeah, you understand why he is who he is.
Yeah, there was one point in that episode I was like, are they trying to get me to sympathize with this guy? Because that's not going to happen.
Yeah, and you can kind of tell how good he is. And I tell you what, he is living up to his billing from the comics, which I'm very happy with.
Yeah, no, he's definitely one of those villains that for me I didn't know that much about, but he's definitely an intimidating and threatening villain.
Yeah, which like I say, just keep it versus Oliver the rest of the season, and I will pick up my grade. I haven't done my report card in a while for the DC TV because there's been so much going on, but their grade will go up if they keep it this way. And last but not least, Supergirl was an improvement this week. I think they're stepping in the right direction, albeit they got a couple more steps to go until I think they really hit their stride, but I really did like the episode, albeit dealing with Martian Manhunter's dad's, I don't want to say Alzheimer's disease, but
that's kind of what it was feeling like.
It was kind of feeling like it because he's losing control of his powers and it's causing everybody to fight each other.
So that's that scene with Kara and Mon-El where she's laying out her thoughts and the filter's gone.
Yeah.
Ooh, that got awkward for me.
It's made for some good TV, but I do like what they're doing and having her train with the Legion to take out Rain when Rain eventually gets freed and whatever they're doing in the Kryptonian universe there. Let us know what you think. Hashtag ODPHEE. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back.
Hi, this is Mike C. from I Am Horror. You're listening to the ODPH, the most killer podcast on the planet.
Closing out this week's ODPHEE with our one-shots pad. Why don't you start us off?
So this one showed up on my radar today, and I was surprised to say the very least. Little bit of backstory. Back when I was in college, I was at Broome Community College. I was taking a contemporary film analysis course with one Jason DeTrani. Shout out to Jason. Showed us a documentary called Lost in La Mancha, which he showed us as, you know, if you ever, and I highly recommend this documentary if you're very curious about how a movie is made and how everything humanly possible can go wrong for a movie. Now, the documentary in question is about the making of The Man Who Killed Don Quixote, which if you look up development hell in the dictionary, I'm pretty sure you're going to find a picture of this movie. The movie was originally funded in 1999 and started filming in 2000. It is just now coming out in 2019. They have started and stopped and the production on this movie 8 times for all sorts of issues.
Eight times?
8 times. This movie originally starred Johnny Depp and 2 others. They had to stop production once because where they were filming there was a flood and all of their sets got destroyed. So they had to restart. They had to stop again because one of the main characters, not Johnny Depp, the actress ended up leaving because she was sick. There were budget issues. There were financial issues. But finally, the movie is coming out. Terry Gilliam is going to get his moment in the sun. His baby, his project for 2 decades is finally coming out. And I might go see it just because I know the backstory.
That's just insane because you'd figure, you know, maybe after a couple times, maybe it's an omen.
If you
this is not a good idea.
Yeah, and they bring it up in the documentary because the documentary was originally supposed to be like a making of for when the movie came out, but because they all had to halt production on the movie, they just put the thing out as a documentary. There's more than one person who during the production of the original run with Johnny Depp called this like the most cursed film in Hollywood.
I'm just trying to wrap my head around it. Like when you go to investors for movies and you're like, hey, I got a great idea. We haven't gotten it done about 3-4 times, but 5. Let's try for 6.
Which, if you want to see the documentary, you can find it on Amazon's streaming service for, I think it's $3.99, $4.99, something like that. You can find it there. If you're into how films are made or want to see the most crap hit the fan for a movie production, that's your documentary to watch.
I mean, I'm just trying to wrap my head around. I mean, kudos to them for getting it done. I will say this. If you want to talk about persistence about getting something done, hey, after 8 times they're finally getting this done.
Yeah.
Props to you. I'm not hating on that. I'm just trying to wrap my head around like
it was so out of left field because I remember the documentary very vividly because literally it's the Murphy's Law of Hollywood. If something could go wrong for this movie, It did. And it was just because in my mind, having known some stuff and read some stories about movie productions, yeah, stuff goes wrong. Yeah, stuff happens. I think back to when they were making the Harry Potter movies and Richard Harris died. Stuff happens. But for all the stuff to just go wrong with this movie, it seemed like somebody was carrying a voodoo doll.
You got to think something's got to be cursed with it.
It's just insane.
Well, being the comics guy that I am, I guess my one shot for this week, because it only does come around once a year, this Saturday, free comic book day.
Yes.
So if I were you, first look at where you can get your local comic store is located. You're going to go to
Comic Shop Locator or freecomicbookday.com, either or. You can find out, just type in your zip code, I believe, and it will tell you where your local comic book shop is if you don't know.
That's usually how most works, is just your zip code, so you don't have to put like your address in there or anything, so don't worry about that. I guess, well, what we got this year, guys?
This year, we got kind of a wide open selection. So depending if you're going in the 607, shout out Fat Cat Books and Sound Go Round.
Yep.
Go check them out if you were checking out Free Comic Book Day, which you should be.
Absolutely.
Support the industry. Get out and go get some of the deals, get some books, because you'll get free ones on that day.
I'm saying usually they're doing more than just giving out free comics. It's an event.
Absolutely. Just type it in a Google search and you will find out. But Brad Guy asked a great question, and we have a great answer for that. Because there's an Overwatch comic coming out by Dark Horse.
Yeah, it's based on the same video game by Blizzard, the wildly popular video game by Blizzard.
The one that everyone has said apparently has redefined first-person shooters.
I've heard that said.
And I got to go with you on it, because if it's not Injustice 2, I don't play it, but I'm going by the panel's opinion on it.
It really says something about a video game, and I know this isn't a side. It says something about a video game when they create an entire esports thing for it. Not every game gets that.
Really?
Yeah, there's an entire competitive league for this.
And now supposedly, the next Battlefield and Call of Duty are going to have game modes that are like Overwatch.
Yeah, when you change how video games come out and stuff that's in video games, you're doing something right.
That's okay. I'm an all on that.
I know DC has one that's under the covers right now. They really haven't released anything on it. If you go on Free Comic Book Day, it's literally DC Comics, and it's, I can't remember what is the
Top
exact
secret.
It's Top Secret. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
There's nothing on it.
I was looking at the list earlier, and you're going through, and it's listing everything they're giving out for free comic, and you're scrolling through, and it's literally, the Free Comic Book Day logo on the top, DC logo right underneath that, and if you picture a top secret stamp like you see in a military movie, war movie, whatever.
Any Michael Bay movie, basically.
Pretty much. It's just, top secret stamped on the front of this thing, and it's black.
And not to get confused with DC Nation Zero coming out this week.
No, DC Nation Zero is going to come out Wednesday, and it's only 25 cents. But the thing is, you might want to get down to your local store and get that, because they have specifically said until the arcs involving that comic are done, it is not going to be reprinted.
Interesting, and it's only for 25 cents. It has a prelude for Batman 50, The Wedding of Batman and Catwoman. It has a prelude for Justice League No Justice, which is the lead-in for the new Justice League re-up by Scott Snyder.
Which is apparently supposed to set the universe for not just Justice League, but all of DC Comics. It's going to have repercussions throughout it.
And it also has the thing with Brian Michael Bendis doing Man of Steel.
Ooh.
So for that reason alone, for 25 cents,
can't go wrong.
That's like 60s comics when you could go down and get them for 25 cents, 50 cents.
Basically free.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, and it's not even Free Comic Book Day. Let alone, you could try waiting until Saturday to go get it. We recommend you go to your local comic shop when it comes out. But they have so much more coming out. I know Marvel has a couple books that we've heard about. They have an Avengers one with Captain America, which I'm assuming is going to be a preview of the new series relaunches for them.
Probably.
Amazing Spider-Man 2, and I heard it was tied in with the Infinity Watch as well. I'm guessing with Amazing Spider-Man, it's going to have a prelude for the relaunch as well, even though I heard there's a ton of variant covers. But I'm guessing because with Dan Slott leaving Amazing Spider-Man after his epic run, I think they're just going to celebrate, passing the torch. He's on the Fantastic Four and Iron Man, so he's got some really cool books coming out. And I know with the relaunch, too, they really want to celebrate Spider-Man's re-up.
His Iron Man's the one that has been said it's going to be like Black Mirror meets Rick and Morty.
Yes.
Oh, my Lord have mercy.
I'm pretty excited for that one.
Oh,
it's that
Lord have mercy. That's going to be on a lot of people's radars.
It's going to be crazy. I can't wait to read his Fantastic Four, to be honest with you. I can't wait to see that re-up, because he's going to deliver on that. I have no doubt about it.
I'm sorry, I just have no interest in Fantastic Four other than The Incredibles.
I would say this. Give that book a shot. when it comes out, give it a read and let me know what you think of that.
We'll say I'm probably going to give it a read just because I know Dan Slott's run on Spider-Man was very good. Just for that reason alone, I'm going to give Fantastic Four a shot.
The other one I want to mention real quick before we go on to Ken, your one shot, is for all you anime fans out there, Ghost in the Shell is getting a comic on Free Comic Book Day.
Really?
That's what I've heard about.
Interesting.
I don't really know what's it about, but I just saw Ghost in the Shell, and it's like, all right, anytime I get to see the Major go around and kicking butt in the famous cyberpunk world, I'm down.
Say there are going to be a lot of people all over that one.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be a lot of people all over that. I mean, it has something for everybody. I mean, if you're into Strangers in Paradise, that's a long-standing indie book. They're having something on the Free Comic Book Day. Shadow Man from Valiant Universe is doing something. Street Fighter 2 is having a book coming out. Doctor Who, which I'm sure is going to show the new Doctor.
Probably.
I mean, there is something for everybody. So if you've not been down to your local comic book shop in a while, or you've never gone for whatever reason, this is the time to go. comicshoplocator.com. Type in your zip code. It'll tell you where to go. And if not, hit freecomicbookday.com. You can find out, get involved, and go check your shops out. Go support your local businesses too, because that's always a key thing. My one shot, you know what? I would say I would double up on Free Comic Book Day, but I can keep ranting about that. But we've been live tweeting about Deception on ABC Sunday nights, 10 p.m. It has been phenomenal. If you like Magician Impossible, you like a little humor, action, suspense mixed in with your magic, I tell you what, it's worth a watch. It's very lighthearted. It's very easy to jump in really quick. And they've been doing some mysteries left and right that I can't spoil. It's on demand if you can find it on your ABC affiliate. So go check it out. We got so much going on. We haven't even gotten to next week's show. Batman Ninja comes out.
Yep.
And we have some special guests joining the panel. And we're going all anime on this one.
And trust me, when I was mentioning that Ghost in the Shell comic, I'm one of those people who's excited because I'm going to be talking about that movie next week.
Yes, we can't wait to talk to you about it. So until then, for the Bry Guy Signal,
I'm out, guys.
For Padawan J,
Thank you.
I'm your host, Ken M. Go out and support Free Comic Book Day. Go hit your stores up. Go buy. Make some memories. Thank you for listening to another edition of the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour Entertainment Edition. We'll see you next time.